Hey, what's good, everyone? This is Bamboozled Black Baby Boomer here with another video that he hopes will be useful to you. Um, as you may know, I've mentioned that I've done some uh, work in the government contracting realm, which I still believe is a very good way of earning money to help build that generational wealth I always talk about. And what I'm about to show you is a way of looking for jobs within a relatively hidden job market. And I call it searching for jobs with companies that have a certification known as the Hub Zone. That's the Historically Underutilized Business Zone. And there are thousands of them around the country, as you can see by this map of the United States. The blue and the red all represent hub zones that are either census tracts or counties, or they've been declared disaster areas, or they're recently closed areas around recently closed military installations. But what I wanted to show you was, first of all, to determine whether or not you live in one of these areas, because in order for a company to keep a HUBZone certification, which means they can get a lot of set-aside contracts under HUBZones, under the HUBZone program, what that means is if you live in a HUBZone and say, and you are maybe you're a computer programmer or you're into IT of some kind, you will be in demand because these HUBZone businesses are required to have 30% or something like that. 30% of their employees have to reside within HUBZones. Now, it doesn't have to be the same HUBZone as the company. It just has to be a HUBZone. Like, for example, if I had a business in a HUBZone here in DC, in the DC area, like in, say, Southeast DC, and I'm going to show you where some of these HUBZones are. I could easily hire somebody from a huge HUBZone, which is Camden, New Jersey, which is kind of where I'm from, because Camden's one giant HUBZone. But I could hire somebody to work for me for at least, 40 hours a month. That's the minimum. Obviously, you hope to be able to pay them more, depending on their skill level and whatnot. But what you have is, what you're hoping for is that that person, you can hire that person, and that would count toward your numbers of employees who live in hub zones. So this video will help you determine if you live in a hub zone, and will tell you also which businesses, which hub types of businesses are the hub zones that the government most buys from. That would be the United States government, as well as some state and local, but the hub zone mainly refers to the federal level. So let's get started. So here we have the HUBZone Map, which is administered by the Small Business Administration, and we'll just scroll in a little bit. Just for craps and giggles, let's take a look at the DC area where I currently reside. Okay, we're going to, okay, come on now. Okay, come on now. These maps. You would think the government would probably want to get Google Maps, but then again, Google's already big enough. So this is the, okay, here we go. This is the Washington, D.C. area. And as you can see by, I'm going to click on the legend here, all this blue represents census tracts. So any business that has its principal office, now there's a difference between principal and headquarters, because you get there. Let me say that again. If your principal office is in a hub zone, then you can call yourself a hub zone business and you would be eligible for such set asides. Um, but you find some hub zones in some very surprising places. I like to say that the hub zone is really the government's fancy way of saying businesses that are in the hood, if you're talking about the cities, or in some rural area, if you're talking about the country in general. But these are all hub zones. Like here, this is Maryland. This is Maryland, and as you can see, this is Washington D.C. And what's really surprising about the HUBZone program is that, let's zoom in here for a moment. Believe it or not, this part of downtown Washington, just west of the White House, is a hub zone. I couldn't believe it myself, but I was actually working with a company that was looking to partner with another company that was a hub zone whose offices were on Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest. So as you can see, if you're anywhere along this corridor right here, if you're along this corridor, you're technically a hub zone. And this here is, okay, and then this area here is what's known as an expiring hub zone. And yeah, here you go. It's qualified until January 31st of 2020. Let's take a look here. Yeah, this is a qualified hub zone. This doesn't look like it's expiring, but then you have this area over here, again, in DC, or at Foggy Bottom, this area, that's a qualified hub zone until January 31st, 2020. Go figure. Okay. And then over in Virginia, you have a few more hub zones in Arlington. I know there's a sliver of Leesburg, Virginia, up north of, let's see, up north of Dulles Airport. If I can scroll. Yeah, here it is, right here. There's a sliver of the city of Leesburg, Virginia, which is considered a hub zone. Right here. Let me see if I can zoom in. There it is. There it is. And see, there is Leesburg, Virginia, which kind of surprised me. It is a qualified hub zone. Doesn't look like it's going to be expiring anytime soon. So if you want to establish a business there, have at it. Now, let's take a look at some other areas of the country. For example, I like to listen to my man, the Angry Man, on his channel. So I know he's in the Durham area. So Mr. Angry Man, if you're watching this, I'm going to zoom in on your neck of the woods. And as you can see, there are a bunch of hub zone designated areas around Durham, in and around Durham, North Carolina. Again, these are, if I click on them, these are qualified hub zones that are not going anywhere. They're not going to expire. But guess what? You've got a couple over here in Raleigh. Let's zoom in on Raleigh a little bit south, which is a little bit southeast of Durham. See, we have Raleigh. Okay. And then over here, Chapel Hill, University of North Carolina is considered a hub zone as well. So if you want to set up shop in Tar Heel country, you might be in line for some set-asides, as long as you can maintain the other requirements. Let's go down to, this map is kind of tricky, so bear with me. As you can see, there are a lot of hub zones here in southeastern North Carolina. Then you have South Carolina, where there are quite a few hub zones, and that's where my mom's family is from, down this neck of the woods. You've got hub zones in this part of South Carolina. And let's see where else. Let's go back up a little bit. Look at Eastern Kentucky and West Virginia, and they are chock full of hub zones. I mean, you set up a business here, you're good. Now, if you can find the people who live in these areas who can work for you, that would be even better. So, yeah, look at for West Virginia and Kentucky, and you have Tennessee. You've got a few in Tennessee. Let's go out west. Let's go out west to my man. I guess BGS lives in Los Angeles. Let's see what's in Los Angeles. I think he lives in Los Angeles. I'm sorry. My bad if I called you out in the wrong, in error. Okay, so we've got the Los Angeles area, and there are quite a few hub zones in LA. You got downtown Los Angeles here, you got South Los Angeles, Huntington Park, Southgate. Where else? Okay, obviously Beverly Hills is not a hub zone. You got Inglewood, Hawthorne, Long Beach, Wilmington, and even you go further south, you got Anaheim down here and Santa Ana right here. And as you go let's go a little further south to the San Diego area, see what's there. Just scrolling along, and yep, we've got a corridor, the I-5 corridor going through San Diego. There are a few hub zones here as well. So again, it just depends on where you want to look. Now, of course, you can type in your address, and it'll into this box right here, and it'll tell you whether or not you're in a qualified hub zone or not. Or, of course, you can also type in your latitude and longitude, although I don't see why anybody would unless that's something you know right off the top of your head. Let's see, one more. Let's see. I used to live in Denver, Colorado years ago. So let's take a trip to Denver. Okay, that's New Mexico. You can see that New Mexico is chock full of hub zones, as is Texas. Oklahoma is mainly a hub zone owing to its Indian reservation status, which is in light blue as opposed to the dark blue. Okay, let's take a look at Colorado. Of course, we have some county-wide hub zones in the southeastern part of the state. And let's zoom in on the Metro Denver area. Okay, all right, there we go. And there are a few, mainly in northeast Denver, where the old Stapleton Airport is. Of course, this is the new airport right here that was built 20 years ago that replaced the old Stapleton. We have a few in West Denver, and have some in Aurora. Most of this area of Denver is not hub zones. So, Boulder, home of the University of Colorado, got a few hub zones here too. So it just depends on where you want to, just depends on doing some research and looking. And see, here's the thing. A lot of this information is available. You just got to know where to find it and kind of connect the dots or the breadcrumbs, because everything's scattered all over the place. So this is the hub zone. This is the HUBZone map. And since I last checked it, it's improved somewhat. So let's go to another page, Understanding the HUBZone Program. So the Historically Underutilized Business Zones program was enacted into law as part of the Small Business Reauthorization Act of 1997, which was, 20 years ago. Program falls under the auspices of the U.S. Small Business Administration. The program encourages economic development in historically underutilized business zones, or hub zones, through the establishment of preferences or set-asides. It says here, SBA's HUBZone program is in line with the efforts of both the administration and Congress to promote economic development and employment growth in distressed areas by providing access to more federal contracting opportunities. So, now, of course, if what you want to do, if you think you can work for one of these HUBZone companies, again, it would help if you lived in one. Now, you don't have to, but if you could say to them, hey, I can, I see you have a contract over here. I can do this work for you, and guess what? I see you're a HUBZone, and I live in a HUBZone. They're gonna listen because the government calls the tune. Everybody has to dance, and if the government says a certain percentage of your employees have to reside in a HUBZone, of course you got to show address, voting records, whatever is proof, then these companies are going to take a look at you. They should anyway. So let's go. Okay, here's the eligibility. It must be a small business by SBA standards, and we'll get into that in another time. It must be owned and controlled at least 51% by U.S. citizens or a community development corporation, an agricultural cooperative, or an Indian tribe. Its principal office, now again, principal office, now, a principal office versus a headquarters office can be fudged a little bit, but it says here, its principal offices must be located within a historically underutilized business zone, which includes lands considered Indian country and military facilities closed by the Base Realignment and Closure Act. And here's the crux of what I'm talking about here. At least 35% of its employees must reside in a HUBZone. So, again, if you're a small business with, okay, you're just starting out, you got a small contractor or subcontractor, you got 10 employees, okay, 10 out of 10, you're talking about maybe 3 or 4 employees. Let's say 4, just to round up, because 35% of 10 would be a fraction. So, you've got 4 employees who live in HUBZones. That's manageable. But what happens when you grow to 100? This company grows to 150. That means 50 employees or more, 50 to 60, will have to be HUBZone residents, and that gets to be a little more challenging. So if you see a business out there and you live in one of these areas, you know, it's a HUBZone. You can go ahead and try to contact them and see where it goes. I'm just trying to give y'all a different way of doing things. So let's go to this next slide. Okay, top 10 agencies that buy small businesses, and this is based on, let's go, and then you have top 10 industries for small business contractors and top 10 industries for HUBZone contractors, and this was based on federal data from fiscal year 2013. It may have changed some given the budget cuts and the sequester at the federal level since then, but this is still a pretty good guide. All right. So the top 10 industries for HUBZone contractors: commercial and institutional building construction. That's 1 billion, 1.2, almost 1.3 billion dollars were spent by the government with that year with HUBZone businesses. So, and of course it makes sense because commercial and institutional building construction is more or less, more of a blue collar type job that doesn't require a college degree. So yeah, that is, you're going to have a lot more people who work in those areas. I'm not trying to be politically, correct here, but a lot of folks who work in those areas are probably going to live in HUBZones. And then the second one, the next category would be other heavy and civil engineering construction. Then the third category is other computer related services. Now, in my experience, having worked for quite a few IT firms, they have trouble meeting the hub zone requirements because those folks tend to have college degrees and certifications, and they start making money, and they don't want to necessarily live in the hood or in a rural area. They want to live in a what's considered a somewhere between middle class and upscale suburb, which is not generally not going to be a hub zone. But I'm saying to you young people, let's build that wealth. We don't have to live in the suburbs, do we? Heck, if it were just me, I'd be in the hood in Southeast DC right about now. But I'm married with a with one child still left to go in high school, and have a wife, and she wants to live in relative comfort. It is what it is, as my man BGS likes to say. Anyway, so then you have highway, street, and bridge construction, facility support services, engineering services, security guard and patrol services, research and development in the physical, engineering, and life cycles except biotechnology, and administrative management and general management consulting services. And men and boys cut and sew apparel contractors. That's interesting. But all of these are the top 10 industries for HUBZone contractors. So if you have any skill in this, in any of these areas, you can either start your business or you can go to work for one of these businesses, get the experience, and then start your own business. Selling to the government, and I would have to think that once you're selling to the government, because the government is lucrative, but it's also the most difficult entity to sell to. If you can sell to the government, the federal government, you should be able to sell to anybody after that. You can say, hey, I did this work for a Department of Defense, da 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 da. They'll be like, oh, okay, you're hired. I would think that's how it would work. So here we go. And let's go back to NAICS code 541519. Oh, and by the way, NAICS stands for North American Industrial Classification System. I forgot to tell you guys that. So let's go to NAICS code, 541519, because that seems to be where a lot of us, the young folks are going. This is defined, the NAICS code 541519, other computer-related services, is establishments primarily engaged in providing computer-related services except for custom programming, systems integration design, and facilities management services. Establishments providing computer disaster recovery services. Disaster recovery, IT disaster recovery is a big deal, and software installation services are included. So take a look at this particular NAICS code. I'm going to end it for now. My next video, I'm going to show you how to find these HUBZone companies. There is a directory out there that the SBA, Small Business Administration, maintains, and a lot of these companies have been vetted by the United States government. They do have standing purchase orders with the government, meaning, or delivery order contracts with the government. In other words, if the government issues what's called a task or delivery order under a certain GSA schedule number, then those companies are eligible to bid and compete for them. So what I'm going to help you do is find those companies that are already vetted, that are already on a GSA schedule, and there are tons of these GSA schedules, and I'm going to show you how to find them and pull them into a spreadsheet, and then just go through and call. There's your list of potential employers right there. But again, nobody knows this stuff because it's not really taught. Definitely not taught in the schools or even in college. Well, of course, a lot of this stuff didn't exist when I was in college. but I'm just here to help out because I feel like, again, it may. I hope to be able to, take advantage of this myself from the standpoint of being a business owner, being a HUBZone, being certified as a HUBZone. But for now, I just want to help you guys to find either, to find work or to get started in your own business. But mainly, I'm going to be helping folks who are looking for work. And of course, you have to be qualified and all that kind of stuff, but it depends. We'll go through it in the next video. So, again, if you have any questions, if I overlooked anything, if there's something you'd like to add, please put it in the comment section below. Write it in the comment section below, and I will respond. And as I always say, if you liked this video, please like the video, please share the video, please subscribe to B4's channel, and also click on the bell so that when Bamboozled Black Baby Boomer uploads new content, you will be notified. Until next time, this is Bamboozled Black Baby Boomer saying peace, deuces, and God bless.